The headache and the hangover and some ways have returned back to Jacksonville. I'll tell you exactly what I mean and what we're going to do about it in this edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Jaguars. Here on a Monday, I'm Tony Wiggins, and we thank you for making us your first listen because it's your team every day here on the Locked On Jaguars Daily Podcast. We're free on all platforms. Make sure you check us out on all platforms, wherever you get your podcasts, and the YouTube page as well. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Today's episode of Locked On Jaguars is presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. If you saw my postcast yesterday, I brought up some things, and I told you that we were going to talk about a certain subject. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit because I had a chance to think and really let it settle in. And I had a chance to really decompress a little bit. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow, where we take the top players on the team. We're going to evaluate whether or not those top players are good enough. And I'm organically switch that up because something is on my mind today, man. This hangover has returned, and not only has the hangover returned, but some of the coach speak, and I'm going to preface all of this by saying I love me some Doug Peterson. I believe in Doug Peterson, and I like Doug Peterson. But there's something that got under my skin yesterday. There's an answer that he keeps giving about James Robinson. And it's not really that big of a deal to me personally because James Robinson, I think Travis Etienne has played well. Somebody pointed out a stat earlier. They said, you know who's leading the team in negative yards rushing or negative plays? James Robinson. I don't know if I can confirm that. And by the way, if you're looking at me on YouTube, that is not crumbs on my face. That is a piece of gray hair in my goatee. Okay, right there. I'm pointing to it. But I got to let you guys know that there's something about Doug's answer that bothered me yesterday. And his answer was more of folks are asking why James Robinson has been getting less carries. And he said he got to get with a trainer and check it. You don't have to check with no trainer to see why you haven't given a guy a ball the last 2 or 3 weeks. Just tell us why you haven't done it. Are you saying that you think something might be wrong with him? How would you know that if you didn't give him the ball? See, this is the kind of stuff when you add to the decisions and you add to the losing. These are the kind of things that make people go, I don't even want to hear him talk anymore. Who is it that you have to ask about James Robinson's health? I guess he's talking about the trainer or the staff or whatever, about why you didn't already give him the ball, so you need to see if there's a health issue. What are you talking about? We're asking you if there's a health issue. You would know why you ain't putting him in the game or check with Bernie of why he's not playing. I know he said that ETN is kind of taking that over, but 22, Hasty's even getting carries. It makes absolutely no sense that we got to check with somebody about a health issue. You do that about a guy going forward. You don't do that about a dude that you ain't giving the ball. What kind of sense does that make? So this is where I'm like, even as a Peterson defender, I'm like, no, that ain't a good answer, man. You know, because people want to know what's going on. And look, if they end up trading him and get some compensation for him, okay, then I can understand, okay, it's not something you want to really put out there like that. And if James is banged up, it's not his job to really tell us, yeah, he's banged up. He's feeling the effects of, working his way back with the Achilles, because that would indicate that they put him out there too early, right? But you can't just be sitting there talking about we're going to ask the trainer. No, dude, we're asking you. Why didn't you give him the ball more? And I'm not saying you should have given him the ball more. I'm just saying when somebody asks you why you got to say you got to check with a trainer to see if there's a health issue? No. Okay, look, this is the way it works. If you didn't give him the ball and there's a health issue, then you found out there was a health issue, so you didn't play him. That's it. You don't tell people you got to figure it out. Was he not feeling well? Did somebody tell you what? Did you see on tape or something that he wasn't running? I just don't understand the answer at all. And if I don't, I know damn well people that pay for tickets and that are skeptical and are frustrated are like, what is he talking about? All right, I vented. So let me grab my little script. Because y'all know I'll go off script in a minute, right? So look, I had all of these questions and stuff that I wanted to bring up. But I had to go off script real quick because it just hit me, and I can't stand when folks answer a question but don't really answer the question. What now is the question that we're going to talk about today. Are the Jags headed for another top 5 pick in the draft? Yes. I'm going to tell you, everyone's talking about who they should trade for. I'm going to tell you who they should trade and get rid of them. And it's not because I think they're terrible. I just think you have to maximize value if you're headed back for a top 5 pick. Here's the problem with the top 5 pick this year. Most of the people that are projected to be in the top 5 are folks that play positions where you have already committed dollars and cents and resources to. And you ain't in the Jaguars are not in a position to be doubling up and have guys on the bench or trying to, based on what their scheme is. In fact, there's no scheme that will allow you to pick another quarterback or another pass rusher and then pay Josh Allen a 5th-year option, and then you just use that money on Trayvon, and you're not going to move Trayvon Walker to defensive tackle. You're going to leave him at end. There is no scenario that you sit there and pick a quarterback or an edge rusher unless you do what I suggest in segment 2, and that's trade somebody, and I'm going to talk about that. Can they win in London against Denver? I'll answer that question. Look at my face if you're on YouTube. What you think? They ain't going to be able to win until they do. And right now they're 2-5, and I don't care. Close is not a statistic. Almost doesn't count. There's no win, loss, almost. It's win and loss and tie, not win, loss, tie, and almost. It doesn't matter. We can say that they sat here and almost won every game. And I can tell you that they sat here and found a way to barely lose every one of them. Right? Right. They done turned me back into the old me, man. I don't know where I got that from, somewhere in one of these rap songs or something like that, but that's exactly what has happened, because this little hangover, man, that I got from having to even think about this team this way, it went away, but it came back. It's right there all over again, and it's like it never left. And it's frustrating. I'm going to talk about that in segment 2 in just a second. I'm going to tell you who I think they should move on and why they should do it. And look, it's October, and we are already in what do we do about the future move. And I know y'all don't like it, and I don't like it either, so I'll get to it. You want to talk about the future? You know, you guys invest in stocks all the time, and I want you to know that this episode is brought to you by Prediction Strike, the world's first sports stock market. You can now invest in professional athletes just like stocks. It's lower risk alternative to sports betting, and athlete prices move based on performance and supply and demand. Y'all want to be GMs? Y'all want to be stock market people? Here's how you do it. If you invested in Jalen Hurts 1 year ago, you'd be up 48.2%. Rashad Penny, you're up 154%. Kyle Pitts is down 44.2% and struggling to start the year. Tons of other options for you to look at. This is what you got to do, man. This is like taking your ability to invest in the market, but also to play GM. I always said people will make picks with somebody else's having to suffer the consequences. Well, now you get to make your picks and you suffer the consequences for them, right? Or you strike gold. Download the Prediction Strike app and use Locked for a free share when you sign up and make a first deposit of $20 or more. That's promo code LOCKED, and the site is Prediction Strike, and the promo code is LOCKED for a special one-time giveaway. Prediction Strike will choose one person who signs with the code LOCKED and when you make a deposit, you can be eligible to win 100 free random shares. That could be worth up to $3,000 if you get lucky and receive Josh Allen shares. Invest in what you know on Prediction Strike, the stock market for sports. I want to holler at you too, man, about Blue Nile. We need to mark time sometimes. And one of the ways you do that, especially with your mom, your wife, your girlfriend, significant other, whether you're looking to pop the question or have a milestone to celebrate, or you want to let your love sparkle, Blue Nile can help you make celebrations even that much more memorable. As the original online jeweler, Blue Nile offers the largest selection of independently graded diamonds and pieces priced significantly below traditional retailers. Blue Nile has helped millions of customers create their perfect engagement ring. Their easy online tools let you choose the diamond, shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will help you handcraft her perfect one-of-a-kind engagement. Here's what you do, man. You want to mark time with a beautiful piece that you can just about customize yourself. Make your moment sparkle with Blue Nile. Go to BlueNile.com and use the promo code Locked On to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That's BlueNile.com with the promo code Locked On to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. BlueNile.com, code is Locked On. And you're locked in here with me on another losing day after the Jaguars fall to the Giants 23-17, got to the 1-yard line late in the game, had provided a whole bunch of excitement. I got a feeling if they'd have won, there'd have been a bunch of mad Jaguar fans that were there yesterday. But I told you guys, Patricia Traynor from Locked On Giants, and most of the people, if you listen to the podcast anytime last week, I said they are the masters of looking like they can almost win. But when you look at that a different way, that's half full, half empty. Almost. They almost won. No, they lost again. Another close game that they should have won. That's the way I look at it. So what do you do at this point? For all intents and purposes, they look like they're headed back towards a top 5 pick, right? And we can argue until the day is long of whether or not their pass rush is good enough. The point is they've already committed dollars or resources to that pass rush. Trayvon Walker with a first-round pick, first overall, and Josh Allen with a 5th-year option. Is Josh Allen really that? Is he that? I don't know. I'm willing to say no at this point. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. That just means if you go down the list of good NFL teams that have good pass rushers, is he good enough to be the number one for anybody? And I don't think he is. But I think there are people that believe he is, right? And there are some teams that are probably willing to not be patient enough to want to pick a young guy, and they just take a short thing. Usually those teams are contenders. Right now, if I'm the Jaguars, I look around, especially if you don't win this weekend before the trade deadline. If you're 2-6, I'm like, we ain't making the playoffs. He ain't going to be good enough for us to pay him a whole bunch of money. But maybe other people think so. I would trade Josh Allen as fast as I could. I think they made a mistake of holding on to Dante Fowler one offseason too many, because then the amount of years they had left on his contract went away by one, and therefore they didn't get as much for him. I think they ended up getting a 3rd-round pick for Dante. I think you can at least get a late 1st or early 2nd and then something else for Josh Allen right now. And the reason why I do that is because I know the Jaguars aren't going to try to take C.J. Stroud or the kid from Alabama, Bryce Young, because they got Trevor. And maybe they can go after Will Anderson or that Henry kid from Clemson. They need to reboot somewhere, because everything that is of a position of value that you can that you can pick high, that's going to be best player available, is something that they've already committed to. Yep. Folks talking about going out and trade for this person, trade for that person. I trade James Robinson too. If you can't tell us a straight up answer of whether or not he's injured or not, And there are teams that are contenders that need running backs. The problem is there aren't very many teams outside the Rams that are contenders that need a running back. And the Rams will probably have to give you a pick from 2075 because I think they've given all of their draft picks away. What can you get for them? A third or a fourth, maybe at this point. If you're all in on ATN and you're using Hasty to back him up and letting him touch the ball more, what are you keeping J-Rob for? This is the end of year 3, right? He was an undrafted free agent. After 3 years, those guys have to be tendered or whatever anyway. I don't know if they just plan on holding on to him. I don't know if he's banged up. I don't know if he's lost a lot of value, but I would seem to think that running back starved teams that are trying to make the playoffs, like the Rams, that don't have a running back, would probably be chomping at the bit to get a guy like that. There just aren't that many teams that need a running back that they're willing to give up compensation for at this point. And I think the Jaguars are just in a weird place. James Robinson is one of their 3 best players on offense, along with probably ETN. I'm talking about skill positions. I'm going to talk about Brandon Scherf, along with ETN and Trevor Lawrence. But this is the dilemma. If you got a team built with your best players and they're not all on the field at one time, that's a problem. That is a serious issue. That's what I talk about when I say a team building issue. It's that kind of stuff right there. You're not good enough to do that. And the problem is that's what's going on with Jacksonville. It's one of the things. They need a whole bunch of stuff, and they're not going to be able to get it all in one offseason as they are currently sitting when it comes to draft capital and salary cap space. They need corner. They seriously need a corner. They need a defensive tackle or 2. They need another guard. They need a tight end, and we all know they need a big-time X receiver. None of this stuff goes away if Trevor isn't better. And what I mean by that is you invest this stuff in a quarterback. He's on a rookie deal. I'm now starting to hear, I used to hear Andrew Luck, John Elway, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. It's been a minute, and when I say a minute, 4 weeks since I have positively heard Trevor Lawrence's name mentioned with those guys. I think people have now sort of shifted their attitude to more like, and this is the optimistic side. Tony Romo, Donovan McNabb, maybe, that he's one of those guys. They're not even saying he's those other guys anymore. It's starting to switch. The only time they mention Trevor and those other guys is when they're saying he's not them. I told somebody it was too early to say that wasn't the case. I think officially it's still too early to say that that's not the case, but I don't think it's too early to say that I'm hearing rumblings of that. So that just exacerbates the fact that you can't afford to have players stacked at one position and they're not on the field at the same time. You need to have all guns blazing if your guy isn't the dude you thought he was and he needs some help. And I don't even think it's physical. I think it's right here. That's where I think it is. I think it's about timing. He got away with a couple of passes yesterday that he shouldn't even thrown that would have been picked off, but because they was dumb enough to have a roughing the passer penalty once or twice, he didn't pay the ultimate price. The Jags got real fortunate yesterday. I'm going to tell you if they can win in Denver. I'm going to tell you if they don't win in Denver, against Denver in London, what it really means in the psyche of this fan base that has already started to possibly have that hangover. But thanks for making Locked On Jaguars your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. We're going to talk about this week's game in Denver, the possibilities and the probabilities that they win, and if they don't, which I don't think they will until they do, what happens after that. Stick around here on Locked On Jaguars. We'll do that in just a second. I got to tell you about PrizePicks first, man. PrizePicks is the real deal. I was close, but no dice yesterday. But that's on me. You don't have to be the same way. You can be smarter than me. Show me what you're working with and show me what you got. Playing a daily fantasy game that has entries, and those entries and player projections are selected by PrizePicks. And what you need to figure out if they're going to go more or less. It's 2 to 5 players, man. That's all you got to do. Pick 2 to 5 players. And if they go score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money if you get them all right. Now you can choose the flex option where you can miss. Out of the 5 you pick, you can miss 1 or 2 and still get a little compensation for it. But if you hit them all, you can get up to 10 times your money. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, you get $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100 at prizepicks.com or on the PrizePicks app. We thank you again for joining us here on Locked On Jaguars, making us your first listen, trying to figure out where this team's going to go from this point forward. And I know you have that hangover. I realize why, because my head is hurting too doing this show, because it's just so familiar for what we've always done. There are a lot of people that have the silver lining, so I'll give it to you. The fact is the Jaguars lost all 5 of their games by 1 score. They got to the 1 foot line yesterday, could have easily taken the lead and gotten off with a kick and won. Could have been going for a field goal had Doug Peterson took 3 points earlier that he did not try to take. But in that case, maybe the Giants try to score at the end too, as opposed to just running the ball. You never know how it goes, how the ebb and flow of the games go, but he's getting the benefit of the doubt. But the more he doesn't answer certain questions a certain way, he is going to start getting criticized just like everybody else, Lombardi Trophy or not. That Lombardi Trophy is in Philadelphia. It is not here. And the fans will be like, I don't care. They will say the same thing about Mike Caldwell. One thing that I'm getting frustrated with, and I'm trying to figure it out, is why is Trayvon Walker or Josh Allen off the field in these critical situations? Like the Jaguars score a touchdown, you get the lead by 7. And when you need to get a stop, you take your best players off the field, and it's not like they had been out there all day. And the second the other team, like the Giants yesterday, makes 2 big plays and they get in your territory, here you come wanting to run your 2 dudes back out there. Remember, y'all backups aren't as good as the starters. I know at some point you need to give them a little bit of a blow, but that's usually not it. You don't wait till a team drive down the field and then expect them to go in there and play captain save a team. Yeah, it's just all backwards. And I think that they've, just like sometimes with being aggressive, I think they've gotten into this I want to call it this planned rut or this planned program where you do certain things at a certain time instead of making these adjustments, and it's really, really getting frustrating. Can they win in London versus Denver? Yeah, they can, but they probably won't until you figure out that they will. I'm going to say no, they ain't going to win, and they're going to end up 2-6. Could they end up with the number 1 pick? Because Carolina won yesterday. We'll have the power rankings come out on Wednesday on the Locked On NFL, and we'll discuss it, and we'll see. It got me all on the internet doing memes, telling people the Jaguars going to win the division. I don't care about being wrong. I'll take the heat. But, man, I know you guys feel bad. I know you guys are just sick and tired of being sick and tired. But we'll have more for you. I'm going to look tomorrow and see if those players that the Jaguars have put in position to be the best, are their best players good enough? Are they really good enough? Or do they, before you even need to start talking about depth, do you need to look at the main guys they have and say, even they're not good enough? We'll do all of that on Locked On Jaguars on tomorrow. Make sure you check out Locked On Sports today. It's everywhere where you get your podcast. It's free on this platform and also on YouTube. You will really, really enjoy it. Until tomorrow, you guys try to take care of each other, man, and take something for that hangover. And we'll talk to you.